Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be pulling a 175 Enduro engine apart so I can take the crankshaft out of it to use in one of my 73 ATMX 125 projects. I started pulling this apart yesterday, but I stopped right after I got the clutch off because I had some other stuff come up. But I wanted to show you something, and I don't understand why people do these kinds of things. It's just crazy and it's ridiculous. So let me get you turned around here and I'll show you what I found when I pulled the clutch off. Right here on the pinion shaft, for some reason, I don't know if it's because they lost the circlip, what the reasoning being is, but they welded the end of the shaft to hold the pinion on. Also, all the screws that hold this retainer plate in are loose. They're about halfway out of the case. I don't know what their thinking was, but that's pretty bad. Over here on the Kickstarter side, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see where it had ground into the case a couple times. I don't know what caused that, but I'm not worried about that. All I need is the crankshaft. But I'm going to have to clean this weld up enough to where I can get this washer and the pinion shaft off. Then I'll go ahead and I'll split the cases and get this crank out. So let me move you up here. This thing wants to fall on me. That looks good. Okay, let me go ahead and get an 11 millimeter and take this off. I'll at least get that off of there. Then I'll get my die grinder out and get that cleaned up so we can get that pinion off of there. I think that's 11 millimeter, or is that a 12? No, it's a 12. I went ahead and I got a channel name. Just went ahead and I went with Bridgewater Restoration. So instead of just my name, now everything's going to be underneath my new channel name. All right. Got a little box over here. I'm throwing all the parts in. There they are. Okay. Got other stuff up here on my bench that cover up with some rags. I don't want all that sparks flying and hitting everything. All right, that should do it. I hate these little locks on these things. I don't know if, let's see, get you up a little higher. If I can get the camera to stay there. Aha! Won that battle. Okay, these little marks on the gear, that's not going to hurt nothing. So, get this off. Sorry about my arm being in the way, but I had no other place to put the camera. Straighten you up a little bit. Okay, so now it's ready to pull, split the cases. So let me get my puller. I think what I'll do is I'll pull it from this side. Okay, let's see. It's real windy here today. Run these down. All right. Case is coming apart nice and easy. Whoops, lost my 2x4. There it went. Coming right on up and off. Okay, I can take all this off because it's maxed out. Well, I tell you, having this puller sure comes in handy. No more boogering up threads on the ends of the crank trying to get the crank split. All right, that's off. Too bad that shaft was boogered up, but I have one. This is the main thing that I'm concerned about, is the crank. End play don't feel bad. There is no up and down. All right, let me get this gear cluster out of here. Sometimes it can be a bear getting these things out of here. It's this shaft that's being a pain. This is the counter shaft. Okay, that's out. Those are out. Get that other shift fork out of there. Okay, you got to make sure these little pieces, don't lose them. That gear cluster's out. That one's out. That little part I told you not to lose, there's one right here that fell off. Make sure you keep all those. All right. Now, the ball bearings for the end of the clutch is right there. Make sure you don't lose that. Put that back in the box. Okay, now flip this over. Get my puller back out. And pop that crank out of here. All this work for a crank, but the only way to make sure, the last crank I had, I've gone through two cranks, I've gotten two cranks, and both of them ended up having the seal surface on this side right here, on the stator side, the sill surfaces were bad, so it never would have sealed. And both of those had been flooded with water. Usually if you pull your timing cover off and there's water in there, you almost guarantee the sill surface on that crank is going to be bad. This one was nice and dry, wasn't full of corrosion. Okay. Where did I put my big ratchet? I'm going to take it off the wood, set it right here, start pressing that crank out of there. It's coming out nice and easy, almost ready to pop out. There it is. Yes, looks like a perfect sealing surface for that. So that's a good deal. Now, I don't know why Yamaha did it, but on all the 125 ATMXs, 125 MXs, they have, let me get this off here, I'll explain it though as I go. They have the needle bearings that are inside the engine case for the gear clusters to ride on. Well, I believe they're 22 millimeter OD. Let me get this off of here and I'll show you. I'll get these cases out of the way. Get that moved. This tray works good for catching all this gunk. Okay, now, where's my micrometers? There they are. I have some of those needle bearings that are already out of the cases. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Millimeters. Okay, this is a stock needle bearing, and it measures 2198, so 22 millimeters. And I don't know what I did with the other bearing I had. Well, anyways, it's the bearing that goes on the clutch side, the needle bearing. So it would be the one right there. I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but that needle bearing, they do not have a number on them. And when Yamaha went to the ATMX, they changed that bearing. It's more or less like a slip bit into the case. Okay, let me get this bearing out. I wish I knew what I did with, I had an old one out of an MX. I don't know what I did with it. The ATMX, okay. Okay, so this one actually looks like it was, that's $21.95. $22.98 or $22.90, 92. Okay, on all the other 125 MXs, everything that I've found, the 125 bottom end on both the bearings are the same. They're this size, 22 millimeter. Now on the ATMX, it uses this larger, almost 23 millimeter. And I had a heck of a time finding this bearing. I checked in all the parts manuals, all the parts books, and from what I could tell, because this is a CT3 engine. I had a CT1 engine, I took it apart, and it had both the bearings were these small ones. So I just thought, okay, they're all the small bearings, except for the ATMX. Well, now I pull this CT3 apart, and I see that it's got the larger. I don't know if you can see the difference here in a profile. Let's see if I can get it in that glare right there. But yeah, it was a pain in the butt finding those. Now I know it's the 175 CT3 175 needle bearing will work. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to this crankshaft. Let me get it up here and measure it. Now, most of these bikes have a spacer washer on one side of the crank. This one, okay, this is on the clutch side, had that on there. Okay, can't pick it up. And anything on, yes, and there's one on, it had one on each side. These shims. All right. But that's the main thing right there. That's nice and clean. Looks good. There's a little bit of rust, external rust on the crank. That's just because it all just wipes right off. All right, so looks like I have a good crankshaft for my other ATMX. I'll just clean it up. Let me go get my book, and I'm going to check the end play here on the crankshaft. So I got to go in the house and get my books, and I'll be back out in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I got my book. Now the book says that, I don't know if you can read it, I can't get you any closer, but to check the connecting rod on the crank, you move it to one side, you insert a feeler gauge between the rod and the crankshaft half. And it should be between 0.40 and 0.5 millimeters. So, got you right here. I have a 0.4 Let's see what happened to the 0.45. It slid back inside. Okay. Let me get that little booger back out there. There it is. Have the 0.4, 0.4, 0.45, and 0.50. So let's try the 0.4, and it fits. It fits in there. Okay, the 0.45. Oh, it'll go in there, but you got to push it. And then the 0.5. Nope, won't even go in. So that's within specs. I'd call that good to go. That crank, what I'll do is I'll throw it in my ultrasonic cleaner, clean it up really good. Threads on both ends look awesome. This end here, the stator end, is not bent, and the center on it is in great shape. So I'll go ahead and I'll throw this in my ultrasonic cleaner. Get it all cleaned up. I'll put a little Yamaha lube down inside the crank, on the end of the crank there, to get it lubed up when it's all done. I'll blow dry it off. I will replace the O-ring here. I've got some of those. So that looks like that'll be it for this video. This is the second ATMX engine that I am putting together, and I have a third ATMX that basically is already a runner. I did a video on it, a will it start video on it. The tank is dirty, but I've got Metal Rescue inside of it right now soaking, so that should be clean here pretty soon. And I put a stock Petcot on it because it had some funky aftermarket one that was real nasty looking. Did not even go with the looks of the bike, so that's on there. But right here is the second. Well, this was my first ATMX engine. Let me get you off this holder. Okay, I got you handheld now. So this is the ATMX engine that I did the transmission install on. And it's all ready to go. I'll be putting, I got to put the clutch and everything all in it. It shifts really nice. Put the clutch on it, and I can button up this side. So this is ATMX engine 1. This is ATMX engine 2. Boy, it's going to be hard for me to keep all this straight. Anyways, thanks for coming along on this, putting up with me, talking about these engines. And I will see you on either part 2 of the ATMX 1 or part 2 on the ATMX number 2. So y'all have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.